How do you assemble a Malm chest of drawers from Ikea? Stick around, I'll take you through it step by step. So what we're going to do is look at it, see how there's a chamfered edge in the front here. That's this chamfered edge on the front of the drawer. That's where you open the drawer, so that'll be like the top of the drawer at the bottom there. So I'll start with this, calling it the instructions. And it just wants 4 of these little spigots. And that is a number 2 posi bit that you'll need for that. And it specifically says the hole nearest the chamfer, so there's these smaller holes here basically. Tightness wise, I'm going to start with 3 on the torque tightness scale on the drill driver. Oh, by the way, you can obviously use a regular screwdriver to do these, but honestly your life would be much quicker and simpler if you use a drill driver, so highly recommend. This is a DeWalt brushless drill driver, and you can obviously use it for so many applications around the house. Strongly recommend that you assemble all flat pack furniture with a drill driver. Sides need to go on, and we need these little clutches to assemble. They're usually metal, though Ikea have used plastic ones here. I'm guessing to save money. So yeah, there we go. So what you want to do is on the clutch there's a little arrow here. You want that arrow to line up with the hole of the spigot that's going to go in. So this will go in here like so. Arrow's pointing this way. Just push it all the way in. Simple as that. Same with this one. Arrow's going to point in that direction. That's how it's going to go on like that. See? With the cutaway for the rear of the drawer there, and the bare wood at the back where no one's going to see it. However, before we put that on, we also need to add in these dowels. So that's what the larger holes are for these dowels. And you probably just want to push them in by hand and then just give them a little extra tap with a hammer, just until the tone changes. So, see, did you hear that? I don't know if you can hear that, but that's what it sounds like going in. That's what it sounds like when it's gone in. It's just an extra hardness to the tone. So now we can offer this up, and again you want to just line these 2 up with the 2 spigots. Just gently seesaw it on, so like a back and forth motion, just a gentle one, not a great deal. That's on pretty tight, and now we need a flat-headed screwdriver just to turn those heads and put the clutches, then pull on the spigots to pull it all in. Okay, so here we go. So just clockwise, give it about a quarter, and then towards half a turn, and that's all it needs. Doesn't need to be super tight. Do not use the drill driver for this. It needs to be done manually. That's almost half a turn, that one, and that's rock solid now. Now, if you want to go belt and braces, and you can put a drop of PVA glue into the holes for the dowels. Give it slightly more strength. Not a great deal, honestly, but to give it more strength, you could just use a bit of sandpaper to just wear away just a little bit of coverage here. It'll be very hard to get it exact in line with where the drawer's side is going to go, but once you've roughened that up, you could then apply a thin bead of glue, a PVA glue, wood glue there, and then put the side on, and then the glue will bind it and make it stronger. However, what tends to go wrong with these drawers is not the sides coming away. It tends to be the base, which tends to bow. I'll show you at the end of this video ways that you can prevent the bowing or reduce the risk of bowing happening in your drawer. But these drawers are, they're pretty flimsy really, the bases. They're just hardboard, okay, so it's not a great deal to them. Okay, so now we've done that first side, let's do the other side. And they're nice and solid. So slide the inner side on, and all this is going to go is, you can see it's 2-sided, right, hardboard. So it's either that side or that side. So we want the grey on the inside. So we're just going to slide that in to the drawer front for now, and it appears to just rest on top of, or underneath rather, I should say, the sides there. And then we're going to get the back, which will be this section here. And we're going to secure the back in place with these plastic rivets. I have to say I do not have a great deal of faith in these plastic rivets, but it does seem that Ikea seem to be using quite a few of them. Okay, so the base is now exactly lined up with the sides there. Now we've just got to get these plastic rivets in. So just starting it off with it away so that we can make sure it's engaging properly. And now reassembling it back. I'm just going to leave them half in for now. Do the same on the other side. They're all in at least 1 or 2 notches now, so I'm just going to squeeze them in. And once they get pretty close, you can then get the hammer out, but you really don't want to be using a hammer at this level when they're this far out, because it's very easy to bend them at that stage. Okay, so that's those rivets in, and it's starting to take shape. Just have to put these little see-through rivets here, very small, into these tiny holes in the drawer. Okay, they're in. Okay, and we can put the drawer off with the drawer runners up. They are bagged in pairs, I should say, so that you know that one's for each side, right? So you can't get the sides mixed up, which is quite a nice touch from Ikea. And what you want to make sure is that the roller obviously is at the, I say obviously, the roller's at this end, not at the handle end. Okay, so that's going to go on like that, and that's going to go on like that. Okay, so we're going to use these stubby number 2 posi screws to secure these side rails, and I'm going to go with torque 3 setting, I reckon. And these, and there we go. That's it, perfect. Obviously, if you're not confident with a drill driver, it's okay to use a number 2 posi screwdriver. However, to be perfectly honest, you're better off buying one of these, figuring out how to use it, maybe even destroying an Ikea set in the process, because the time saving you'll get in the future, massive, and it's worth it in my view anyway. There we go. Okay, so the rollers are on now, and now these drawers, very often you see the hardboard, it gets weighed down with clothes and whatnot, and it tends to bow. So what Ikea have done, and eventually it will just pop out, right? That happens all the time, and I've had to repair these before and put a whole sheet of plywood across the back and hold it in with old brackets and everything. And it's a real pain in the backside to do. You can do it, it's a real pain. What Ikea have done is they have created this strengthening bracket to try and avoid that effect, which will obviously give it a lot of rigidity for not a lot of material. It's a really, really nice touch, I have to say. Screw going in here is going to be a little bit tricky, I suspect. The screw going in here will clearly not be. So you want to use these pointed screws to do this. I think because of the way they've done it, you can actually start this one off. In fact, you can start it off without the thing there at all. Start it off on its own. It is a number 2 posi again. That's because it's causing me to go at an angle. It's not ideal, so I'm going to switch to a regular screwdriver. This is number 2 Phillips, but it'll work in number 2 posi. It's not ideal, but it will work. What I've done is I've put it on its side at an angle here. So we can now, I've tightened it up as, you know, tight as reasonably possible. You can now twist it around. Unfortunately, it does tend to unloosen the things. You could twist it around the opposite direction, clockwise, which would resist that effect. But really, it's just a clip, it's just to hold it. The real strength is going to come from the one in this end, which of course you can use a drill driver for, no problem. Number 2 posi, and this wood's so soft, you can just literally poke it in, go in slowly, yeah, it's going. Right, that's a really nice touch that. I suspect these drawers will last a lot longer than they would have because of that touch from Ikea, so very nice Ikea, well done. Okay, so that's how you assemble the drawers. Let's get the other two done. Okay, I don't know if there's any significance, but it's asked to lay them out like this. So it's the smaller of the two holes, same again there, same again there. These two smaller holes are for something else by the look of it. And one more. Okay, and it's the reverse on this side here. There we go. Okay, now these plastic pieces here, they actually go on the base. These are the feet, so it can slide across a carpet floor. However, if you're using this on a wooden floor, if you've got a wooden floor bedroom, assuming this is for a bedroom, I would not recommend using these. I'd recommend getting yourself some felt pads. I'll put a link in the description to include some suggestions, but these are quite easy. You just hover them over the holes and gently start to push them in, and they go in quite easily. So for carpets, these are great because it means you can slide it with much less friction, but much less strain on the joints in the finished product. So for wooden floors, they work, but if you've got anything other than a very, very high quality wooden floor, it will probably scratch the floor, or if it doesn't, on its own, it's going to pick up grit underneath it and drag the grit over the wooden floor, and it's just not going to work. Whereas a felt pad all tends to offer much less friction, much less resistance and on a wooden floor than these plastic pads will. Next up, we've got these L brackets. Interesting looking L brackets. So there's just going to be one cross piece that's going to receive this. So it's this cross piece here, a bit more chunkier than the other bits. It's got two small and a large in either of those, and the two holes here and the two holes here. So into these two holes here, that's for the feet. So this is going to go on the floor, this section. Feet again. Okay, and then you just offer it up like that. And there's a little lip on here, and it just goes inside that larger hole. They are number 2 posi though. They look like they might not be, but they are. Just going to do that halfway, just to make sure this gets properly aligned. And half all the way over this one. The torque of 3 is fine. Don't have to be done up particularly tight, just snug. Snug and firm, but not really that tight. Okay, so they're on. Okay, and what you're meant to do now is, in this right hand part of the drawer, this is going to go at the front, and it's just, you offer it up there, and these, again, these large holes have a little ridge on them, and they just engage into the holes in the baseboard, like so. And it's these two holes here which you clearly need to use the screws for. So I'm just going to put them in, place them in with my fingers to start with. Again, strength of 3. This feels pretty well located, so I'm just going to go ahead and do these right up. Maybe I could have gone with a 4 or a 5 tightness, but I'm comfortable. I'm very wary of over tightening into chipboard, so I'm comfortable with 3. Okay, and then these front slats with some dowels. Now these larger holes where we didn't put the spigots, these can take the dowels, so just put them in with your fingers to start with. They will need to be pressed down firmer in a minute. And each of these are like the front panels where the large hole here, which is lined up with that hole there, that's going to engage with the dowel. Okay, so you can put that, you can actually just put that straight on, like so. And now you can put the dowel in that hole there on the left there, so not the one lined up with the big hole, but the opposite one. Okay, same again with this one. Right, now interestingly, these clutches can go on before or after the actual piece of wood's been assembled. So it actually recommends that you put the clutch on after you put the bit of wood on. So that's what I'm going to do. We've got the arrow pointing in the direction of the spigot. Just push it on, yeah, no problem. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? It can be off a bit, and then give it a full half turn, almost a full half turn, and it will just tend to pull it in, like so. I'm just going to put the other ones in for the opposite ends now, like so. The next part that needs to go on is there's two of these kind of chipboard thick pieces of chipboard here, and the one we want is the thicker of the two. And that is going to, we need a couple of dowels as well. Considering how small these dowels are, it does seem a little bit flimsy, but I guess that'll be okay. I'm going to put these dowels in the holes and push this on. Yep. And as usual, the large holes need to line up with the spigots. Line them up. That's a pretty chunky bit of wood, that is. Let's make sure we've got spigots and also ready for the next bit of chipboard, which is going to go in there. I guess this is to do with the robustness of it, I don't know. See how the sound changes when it's in. And we're now going to get the smaller of the two pieces of chipboard onto that row of spigots down at the bottom there. And it's going to go on this way around, so this hole here is lining up with that spigot there, and it's pointing upwards if you like. And that's on nicely. Clutch can go on afterwards. Give it half a turn. And that is everything you need to do before putting the other side on. So obviously this is the other side. You make sure you've got all your dowels pointing up. We need dowels on this, so let's get those dowels in. Should be two dowels in these larger bits of wood and one in the smaller bit. That's not quite square, so there we go. Okay, so it's all set already for the other side to go on. I'll put this up so that the rest of it, and this is definitely going to be a case of taking it easy and not forcing anything. Okay, so as you can see, there's two large holes there. They'll locate with those there. Those spigots will go through these large holes here for the clutches, and then all the smaller holes are just there for the corresponding dowels. So just lay it on very gradually. I've got those two dowels located and spigots. Just going to lift it up a little bit and encourage these into the right place. Slowly. That's okay. Now it's going down. Okay, so this is going to engage with it obviously as it comes down. Now we're pushing the dowels in, and in she goes. That's in nice and firm. This is not quite lined up yet. Now it has. There we go. And finally, yeah, that's nicely done. And it doesn't have to be perfect, as you can see, it's not quite flush. yet on these. I'm gonna push it down, but it'll probably spring apart a little bit, but that's okay because when we tighten those clutches in, it will take care of all of that. But before we do that, we're just going to put these last two of these screws in through the metal bracket just here. Again, torque of 3 is absolutely fine still, maybe 5, maybe push it up to 5. I'll try it at 5, just see if it's okay. I think 5 should be alright. Yeah, it's fine. So I'll just, yeah. So give it about half a turn. So again, always do these clutches by hand, and then for the very thin pieces of wood, just be extra careful. So I've got to go at a bit of an angle. Not going to affect anything. Okay, so that's all tightened up now. Okay, so this is going to be the top. It's got a little bit of work still on this before we can assemble it onto the main unit. Okay, so one of these in each corner, in the smaller hole in each corner, basically. Larger, smaller. Fairly obvious, really. Smaller hole. Smaller hole. And the fixing kit that I mentioned earlier, whether you're going to attach it to the wall now or not, really important to make sure that you do attach these to the draw unit. That way, if you ever sell it or you ever move house or whatever, you've got the option. It's already pre-installed. Okay, so I'm going to put these on, and you can see there's a couple of little pilot holes drilled there for the screw. Yeah, when you put those in lowest torque setting, honestly. If the walls sound like this, that's hollow. That's got plasterboard stuck to brick. If it sounds really high, that's drywall. In the US, in the States, you guys have drywall everywhere. You have to use drywall fixings. See other videos on YouTube for that. I'm not going to dive into that now. It's now time to put the lid on the top of the unit. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these clutches in that we're going to need now rather than later. So you can see the holes which are going to take the spigots from the lid. I'm just going to put them in now. The arrow, as usual, pointing towards the outer edge. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be all the way in, just stick it in, and it will water finds its own level. It will just move into the right position once the spigot comes down. Okay, so they're all in. Flip this over, and then start with one, go to the next, and then get right under. Do those half turns. Much easier to put those clutches in before dropping the lid on, in my opinion. Not quite what the instructions say, but there you go. Okay, that's all that done. Now we just need to sort the reverse, the rear of the draw unit out. It's a folded piece of hardwood. Interesting. Okay, so there it is, it's in place, and obviously the cutouts are for those wall mounts I mentioned earlier. Now I just want one of these panel pins in each corner, and then just go around and roughly evenly space them out. Top tip with these panel pins is don't force it. Okay, it's very easy to bend them over, so just really take your time. You want to go a little way in, so around about there. Try and angle it slightly as well, so it's definitely, if it's going to go off, it's going to go towards here rather than out, because starting on the edge, you want it to go towards the middle. And again, just very delicate taps. If you want give it roll control, just hold it right there. And make sure you're holding it with your fingers. You can get panel pin holders as well, which are quite neat, but I personally prefer the tactile feedback of using it. See how I'm just gently, it's hardly breaking the surface at the moment. Taking my time, taking my time. Now I can be a little bit more firm. In it goes. And towards the end you can use some real, well, it's fine. Obviously I took my time on that one to demonstrate the principle. Same again with this one. And that is how you assemble a Malm chest of drawers. One final top tip, these instructions are very valuable whenever you move house, something like that. You might need some guidance, particularly on beds, but I do this with all furniture. Is just take the instructions, and in this case there's 2 sets of instructions. And if there's any special tools that you know are just unique to that piece of furniture as well, get the whole lot, put them in a see-through bag perhaps, and then just sellotape them to the reverse or the underside of the product, and then that way it's always there should it ever be needed. How the drawers go into place. So you notice there's a roller here, there's rollers here at the front as well, and all you do is you take the drawer and lift it at an angle so it's like pointing upwards a little bit towards the sky, and literally just roll one roller over the other. And then once they're over each other, get them horizontal. And there you go, simple as that. Hope that helps. Do please leave a comment below if you've got any questions or any constructive feedback. Constructive feedback respectfully delivered is a gift. I truly believe that, and I'm very, very grateful for all of your comments. Also, please consider subscribing. I will be sure to upload more videos of IKEA assembly in the future, and be sure to press the bell icon so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching. Take care. How do you assemble the Malm, what's it called? Chest of drawers. How do you assemble the Malm chest of drawers? What is it now? Oh, it's that. Oh, I'm just done. I'm just done with this bloody camera.